Okay, next class is about null object. In After Effects, pure null objects. So what is a null object? First we have to understand this, then practically we use, right? So in Adobe After Effects, a null object is an invisible empty layer, right? Null means nothing, right? To control the other layers, we use this null object that cannot visible, right? An empty layer that serves as a control for other layers. By itself, a null object has no visual appearance and will not be rendered in your final video. Of course, in the final video, this cannot be rendered. It is a purpose is to function as a parent to which you can link other child layers, allowing to control multiple objects at once. Before this class, we use parent and child. Okay, how the parent will behave, the child also will follow the same steps. But here, instead of adding real parent, we are using a null objects. Here, null object can act as a parent. What null objects are for? The primary use of null objects is to simplify complex animations and control groups of layers efficiently. So, group control. Okay, mainly this will control the whole group of layers. If you have many individual elements that need to move, okay, or rotate or scale together, you can parent all of them to a single null object, animating the null with then apply the same transformation to all of the child layers. And then motion tracking. So when you motion track footage, After Effects can apply the tracking data to a null object. You can then parent other elements like a text layer, an explosion or a muzzle flash to that null, and they will automatically follow the movement of the tracked object in your video, right? So in motion tracking also we use this null object. Okay, and another one is the complex movements. Null objects are used to create intricate animations by stacking and offsetting them. For example, to animate a square moving from left to right while also hopping up and down, you can parent the square to a null object. You would then animate the left to right movement on the null and the up and down hop on the square itself. Okay. So the complex movements also we can link to null objects. And camera control. For 3D scenes, null objects are often used to control cameras. Instead of animating the camera directly, you parent the camera to a null object and animate the null. This gives you more control and predictability when creating complex camera movements. Then controlling effects and properties. Null objects can be used with the expressions to control effects and properties on other layers. Slider control. Effect on a null can be used to control the opacity, blurriness or other parameters of child layers. How to use a null objects? Suppose create a null objects, so go to layer. So this we do in a practically. So how to add all these things? Okay, so basically first we have to understand actually what is null object and how to create. Okay, let us try practically. Okay, this is my composition, new composition. Here I am using star tool, right? So double click here, my star is added. Here I want points. $15 points ahead, right? And scale down this one. This is. And keep this here. And I'm using Control C and Control V. So copied this one. Here it is. Control C, Control V, another copy, and again Control C, Control V, and this is another one. Okay, So select these two. I'm using alignment options, align vertically, and now I'll select this, and here I'm using align horizontally. Okay, so now we have to animate this some bit forward. Yes, here it is. I'll change colors. Suppose this is in red, this is green, okay, and here it is yellow, and suppose this is in blue, right. So generally what, by adding the parent layer, so suppose these are all the child layers, we connect all the child layers to the parent layer, and we can animate the parent layers. So automatically these child layers also can animate. Okay, so previously we used that one, right? So here, instead of adding the parent layer, so we are creating null objects. Okay, so null object can control all these. Okay, so how to get the null object? So by right clicking, see here new, and there is a null object. Okay, otherwise go to layer and a new, and there is a null object. Here it is showing control plus alt plus shift plus y, right? Sometimes shortcuts will be lengthy, right? So we cannot sometimes simply we forget this, right? So no need to worry that. Right click on that and the new, check the null object. See, if you observe here, a null object is indicating by this red color, and here it is giving some box type, right? The square box. Okay. When you animate anything, the null object not showing the visibility. Suppose I am using a space bar. Now see, the null object is not visible. Okay. When you click on the layer only, null object layer, then only it is visible. Okay. Now here, what we are doing, so for the null object also, we have some controls, same like your normal, all the layers, shape layer. These are all the controls: anchor point, position, scale, rotation, and opacity. The same way here also for the null object, we have controls, right? If we animate the null object, okay, the other layers also can animate. So, but before doing that, we have to add all the shape layers in null object. So here we have the parent pick whip. Okay, select layer from which to inherit transforms. Okay, so this you drag and drop that null object. So done, and now here, see, this is look like a elastic rubber, right? So drag and drop into that. Now see, this is, now drag and drop into that, and now drag and drop. Now see, here we have created. So these are. Now open the null object properties here. Suppose this is my position, scale, rotations, right? First let us on the rotation value here. Is my rotation value I am using for the null object and not the shape layers. So rotation value. And for the 2 seconds here I am adding a rotation value something like 30, just make it 35. Now if you play this one, these are beautifully rotating. Okay, all the layers at a time. See, actually what? We are not animating the shape layers. We are controlling the null object. It is rotating all the shape layers. Okay, then what I am doing here, I am increasing the scaleness also. Suppose, so here I am adding scaleness. The key was added, and for the other end is for the other end. Go here, I am adding the scaleness to this much. I am increasing and increasing and increasing. It should go out, right? That's it. Fantastic. Now come back to the first frame, and now let us check. So now see, it is so select this and suppose move up to 4 seconds up to here. Play this one. Now see, we are understanding the shapes. See, one null object is controlling all the other shape layers. Okay, if you want, you can add the position value also. Okay, right now for this action animation, not require the position. Okay then. I'm using Control C here. This area I'm using Control V. So that means what I did, it is going outside and slowly it is coming into a screen. So this can be in a loop. It's going back and coming a front. Okay, so what I'll do, select these all frames. Okay, and right click here. I'm using keyframe assistant. I'm using easy ease. Now check this one. So beautiful, slow in, slow out, action added. Okay, we are all adding only to the null object. So null object is controlling everything. This is very important when you animate complex actions, and those complex actions having multiple layers, and all the multiple layers we can add into a null object. One null object can control everything. So this is all about the null object in After Effects.